Welcome to the Hodcast, conversations worth having. Nearly 60,000 people, just like you, have pressed play on these episodes across all of our platforms. But when I look closer at the back-end analytics, less than 1% have actually subscribed. That means that thousands of people are coming back, finding value, but not taking that one small step. And here's the thing. Subscribing isn't about numbers at all. It's not about vanity metrics. It's about building a space where stories of resilience, recovery and purpose don't just disappear into the noise. A place where authentic people talk about their journey into the workplace and beyond. It's about making sure the next person who needs to hear this finds it. So if you've ever taken something from the Hodcast, or if it's your first time here, hit subscribe, share with a mate, be part of the 1% that makes it bigger than just a podcast. Enjoy the conversation worth it. Jess, what was broken in the world that made you want to step in and fix it?
I think it is that lack of actual, real, local people and their voices. I used to be an officer at the council. I am now a councillor at. I saw 3 administration changes in the less than 4 years that I worked there, and saw stagnation, nothing getting done, decisions being overturned, not being made, not being maintained, and kind of sort of thought that's a position that I feel I can step into and actually speak up for the women, the mothers, the people that are living locally. I'm part of this community, so I wanted to sort of, stand up and try and fix it, or try and leave my mark at least.
I know politics is, I was going to say it's not the only thing you do. It's not the number one thing you do either. You actually have a job,
yep.
a real proper job. Maybe that's unfair to councillors and politicians. But at this point, why politics? You could literally have chosen anything else, but as we found, there's a post went out and you got trolled within 5 minutes of it being out. So literally, why politics?
I think it is that next step. I've worked in skills and employment and helping people from long-term unemployed, prison leavers, people who've left the army, people who've, had all sorts of medical, mental health issues, try and get back into job or work or voluntary and, try and do something to, better their lives or get closer to the labour market for the last 10 years. That's what I've done. And I think it is that element of what else can I do? What else can I sort of try and do to make this area that we live in, this community, a better place? And it's bringing all of that together as well. I've worked with councils, I've worked with charities, I've worked with private sector. And I suppose as a councillor, you're trying to have that overview of everything and bring it together. And a council kind of does bring all of the best parts of the community together and try and deliver for the residents. So I suppose it was what else, as well as working in a council. I've worked in a council. I admire the councillors, no matter what political group they stand for. It's a thankless task, standing up for your community, going through that, the situation of being trolled and, making unpopular decisions. It should be respected, and I do have respect for every single one of them. And now I'm part of that, effectively.
And you, just your day job, because being a counsellor is not your day job. It is everything around it job. Yeah. It's all consuming, I imagine. But your day job, just talk us through your official title, because it's quite cool, actually. I like the title. And what that means that you do.
So my official title is Social Value Manager. So I work for a large company, a large infrastructure company, working on the largest infrastructure project in the country right now, Lower Thames Crossing. And effectively, my role is, I like to describe it as all the fun stuff, all the great stuff, all the best parts of construction, because it is all about that community aspect. And we are in an area and across Essex and Kent delivering a large construction project for the next 7-8 years. We are effectively tearing up people's communities to obviously put back something that we believe is really going to improve the area, but we're going to be a nuisance for a while. There's going to be traffic. There's going to be, road closures. There's going to be all sorts of things that we need to think about. So in social value, I get to focus on getting more people into the industry, getting people to understand the fantastic jobs that are in construction. I get to get involved in community groups, design, community centres, areas, volunteering, but effectively it is that whole economic benefit to the project. So it is making sure that we leave that legacy behind. We leave businesses in a better position to tender for large contracts. We make sure we use local SMEs as part of that supply chain. We have local people joining the industry and having long-term careers. I've got 4 apprentices starting my team in September. They are all from Kent. So, you know, that's impressive. And they're going to go on and do graduate level degree, like they're going to do degree level apprenticeships. That's the kind of, you know, good news stories we want from these large construction projects. So yeah, I get to do all the good stuff, I say, as part of the role.
It's almost like those skills are transferable, you know, to something else that you do. Was there a point that you felt that it was less of a job and more of a calling?
Most probably. I don't think I could do anything else now. As I said, I started off around 10 years ago in working for a work and health programme, helping support long-term unemployed people back into work. I was working in London, and I think at the time I never really understood the gravity of what I could be doing to help somebody, maybe giving them the time of day, explaining the situation, even just sitting doing an application form with someone, giving them the actual time and support can be life-changing for some people. And that's where I sort of started thinking this is what I could do and what I want to do and how can I help more people and have more impact. So yeah, the skills are transferable. My cabinet position is regeneration jobs and skills, and it is purely because of what I do in my day job. I do have an understanding of how it works in the real world. So I like to think that I can bring that to my councillor role.
And just to be clear for those watching, there isn't much crossover between your actual day job and the work you do in Kent and the work, you know, there's no like underhanded stuff going on, which is, I'm sure, what you get many, many, many times over on the internet.
No, councillors have to declare all their interests, all their jobs, everything we do. But yes, so I am based on the Kent side of the project and work over in Kent. And obviously, yeah, I'm here in Essex delivering as a councillor. There is nothing I could even possibly try and do to get any underhand or backhanders. I'm watched in every meeting, and we have legal teams around us at all times. So
no, for sure. But I just wanted to make that really super clear.
Really
there are blurred lines sometimes when people talk about that, and you know, I wouldn't want someone. You know, it's like people clip stuff up and chuck it on the internet. I want to make that really clear.
No, and that's fine. And I think people need to. I suppose. People always talk about how they want people who have real world experience in positions of councillors or MPs or in politics. They genuinely want people that know what they're talking about, to be relatable, to have an understanding of what they're doing. We are that administration in Basildon. We all have day jobs. We all have families. We've all lived and, you know, brought up people in this borough or moved to this borough because it's where we want to be. We all have things we do outside of this role. And hopefully that means that we are better positioned to deliver our roles because we actually have an idea of what we're talking about and how it works in the real world. We can relate to the organisations we're trying to work with. We can relate to the individuals that are impacted by our decisions as well.
And you obviously work in a leadership role. Did that come naturally to you, or like where did that grow from? Maybe somewhere in your early life?
Yeah, my mum and dad would say I'm the bossy older sister. I'm the oldest cousin. I was always the bossy one. I probably still am. But no, I don't think it came naturally. I don't think any leader should say it comes naturally. I think it is something you learn over time, managing people from being apprentices, or obviously managing teams of people. You've got to be able to actually lead by example. You've got to be able to be willing to get down and do the work yourself and be able to show and prove you've done the work, I genuinely believe. But I think you've also got to be authentic to yourself. It's not easy. Leading people and making hard decisions isn't the easiest thing to do. But I think if you're authentic and you back yourself in those decisions, then, and you know, you've got something to back it up, then hopefully people can like believe in that and, you know, believe that you genuinely hope you're doing the right thing. But no, I'm bossy by nature. My husband will attest to that as well. But I think it's something I've also grown into over time.
I don't really like the word bossy very much. People call my daughter bossy. They call my son assertive.
Yeah.
So I don't see a vast difference between those two things, apart from my son is a boy and my daughter is a girl, and you wouldn't call my son bossy.
Yeah.
Nobody would. This is, to be honest, this isn't something that was sort of written down, but I'm interested in your self-proclaimed bossiness. I certainly wouldn't call you bossy. I think you're a great, professional. If at the very least, unpick what bossy is to you and how that differs from, I don't know, being assertive or being sure or being vulnerable even.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is just that silly choice of word or, terminology. I would say, I am sure of myself. I am assertive. I am all those words. I suppose it is that language change, isn't it? And we talk about industries changing the right language to use. We had training the other week at work around microaggressions and things like that, and the kind of terminology and words that shouldn't be used in the workplace. So I'm probably wrong for using the word bossy, but I'm not offended by it either. So I was bossy as a child. I wanted everyone to do everything I wanted to do because I was the oldest. I think that's obviously manifested and changed into I know how to deliver something. I know how to make my point known. Most people who know me very well know that I don't sit on the fence. I'm very happy to share my opinion and say what I think. But it's again down to that, being able to back yourself and why you think that and, what you want to achieve. I'm quite happy in a room of people to say what I think. I've never been that shy, retiring wallflower that lets other people speak before them and doesn't speak up. I still like to get my point across. So bossy is probably the wrong word, and you're right. I've got a daughter and a son, and they will get referred to very differently. There's a large age gap between my two, but my daughter is me effectively, and I don't want her to grow up sort of being given these titles because she's a woman or because she's a young lady. But yeah, the bossiness is probably more as a child, and I hopefully that's developed into assertiveness and backing myself, I suppose.
Yeah, in your defence, I think I don't know if you're doing it too, gentle parenting is something we're trying very hard to do. And my 4-year-old boy, it's not easy. Mm-hmm. When he's walking around in church on Sunday, in Sunday school, just going, nipples, nipples, nipples. And everything within you wants to scream and shout at him like, Elijah, we don't use those words. Yeah. It's like, so I guess from growing up, that is, my parents used to use the word bossy all the time. My grandparents even more so. But we sort of don't really get away, certainly with our children. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're not offended by it, I'm not going to be offended on your behalf because you call yourself, but that is literally what the internet does, right? They're just offended on someone else. Yeah. Let's be offended on her behalf.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to sort of unpick that a little bit because I've never really had the chance to with a strong, independent woman.
So the whole raising children part, obviously, sort of, I think that really puts a magnifying glass on who you are as a person. The whole gentle parenting thing, I'm probably a strong believer of you can gentle parent gentle children. I have a strong, independent daughter who is coming up to 10 years old, believe it or not, which is quite scary to think. And she has opinions and she likes to share them. And I really want to manifest that in her because the world is going in that direction. She needs to be able to stand up for herself in this world. She needs to be able to put her opinion across. She needs to be able to, be that strong, independent woman. Maybe just not at home with me. But no, I do love that side of her nature. She's highly intelligent. She questions absolutely everything, probably too much. And she knows a lot more than I do about a lot of subjects.
Just a quick one. Give me a second to tell you about the proud sponsor of the Hodcast, Site Ready Solutions. In construction, a world where time is tight and quality matters, there's no room for passengers. Site Ready Solutions are changing the game. They're not just getting people into the industry, they're getting them ready to deliver from day one. It all starts in the community, attracting local people who might never have thought of themselves being on a construction site. Then they're given real training, hands-on, hard graft, and to high standards. They're placed where they're needed the most, with the right mindset, skills, and the ability to be productive from day one. Then, importantly, they're retained through ongoing support and mentoring through progression. Because Site Ready Solutions don't just build workers, they build teams, they build trust, and they build futures. From street to site, they're helping everyday people become site-ready professionals, productive, prepared, and proud from the very first day they step on the job. Site-ready solutions, local people, real skills, day one impact. Visit sitereadysolutions.co.uk and see how they're rebuilding the future of the construction industry, one person at a time. Thanks for listening. Young boys are basically like dogs. I don't treat him the same as my dog, but because it's not socially acceptable to lock your child in a cage. It's not good to lock your dog in a cage for that matter. But he needs to run in the morning. It just, we call it the zoomies. Mm-hmm. So the kids just get the zoomies like the dog does, and they just run around the garden, which is fine. We actually have neighbours, so we tell them to be quiet when they're running around the garden in the morning. I kid you not, they actually run around the garden. Yeah. But yeah, he's about to go to school, and I'm not looking forward to him going into school for the first time. He did an impression of his head teacher the other day, a very, very good impression of his head teacher. I have absolutely no idea how that's going to go down at school, but I'm not sure you should be doing impressions of your head teacher, but I don't know. Would he be the first 4-year-old to be expelled from school for being...
I doubt it. I feel like schools should also, try and foster a little bit of personality in our children. To be honest, I think my daughter was in year 1 or 2 when she realised that if she did her work too fast, she'd get given more work. So she came home and told me that she's not going to do her work too fast, and she's going to make sure she longs it out so she doesn't get more work.
Clever.
They are very smart, these children, but yeah, they are. They're full of energy. They're full of life. I mean, I think me and my husband are always looking at ways to wear our children out so they actually sleep at night. Every activity. But yeah, mine are the same. If the back door's open, they're out there digging in dirt or running around or shouting at the neighbours or, being kids. And I think that's the best thing. As long as you're letting children be children and letting them make those mistakes and learn, that's all you can do.
Well, sort of on that, sort of treating the boys and the girls differently and how they grow up differently and things like that. You straddle two camps in terms of your working life and your council life. Are there any shifts that need to be made in the sort of the working culture, especially for women? And I guess I'm sort of pointing this at construction because, we have a skills gap anyway in construction. And when it's not really my lived experiences, it's not really as bad, but then I'm not a woman. But are there any changes you could think of, especially with your microaggressions training that you've just had, about how we could actually thrive rather than just sort of exist within the industry, both male and female?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I straddle two predominantly male-dominated areas. Politics is still more male-dominated. And the construction industry, as you know, obviously is very male-dominated. I think as a project and a project I'm working on, it's something that we always talk about. We have strong ambitions in the equality, diversity, inclusion space. But I suppose it's that behaviour change, it's knowledge, it's sharing those examples. And I suppose traditionally they've not been spoken about. Those examples of a woman saying, well, this offended me, or, a situation where someone's explained why language is very important hasn't been traditionally spoken about. So we're not going to change it overnight. You're not going to change somebody who's worked in the industry for 35 years to suddenly know the right thing to say at all the right times. I think even we who are younger and coming through the industry are still learning that. So I think it's more about that whole knowledge is power. It being spoken about openly, situations or, things you've learned along the way being spoken about. And an example that we spoke about in the training we did was I actually happened to be the only woman in my training group. It wasn't planned that way. It just how the sessions fell throughout the day. And that doesn't bother me. But for some women that could bother them. But and the example sort of we spoke about was how someone will sort of start a conversation, and especially when you're more out on site, come on lads, let's get to work. And there could be a woman there. And it's little things that can impact somebody's day. But a lot of what we speak about isn't just around the male-female gap. It's around the full inclusion. It's, it's mental health, it's diversity, it's background, it's religion. Our whole site is set up to kind of cater for everybody. in terms of like multi-faith rooms. There's a gym, there's quiet spaces, there's, you know, riser desks, there's hearing loops, there's all sorts of things that we're trying to change the industry so it is inclusive. There are roles that obviously won't always be, and they require a certain amount of maybe manual labour or so on, but it's about finding the role that best suits the individual, and it's that whole equity part, giving somebody the tools to do the job the same way somebody else can do them. So it's not about equality. If you are two different people, you need different tools to do that job. I suppose I'm fortunate I'm not out on site all the time. There isn't any sites on the project just yet anyway. We're obviously going to start construction next year, but things will shift then as well. And it's about then those behaviours on site. We'll have to have those conversations. But it's got a long way to go. But I think everybody being open and willing to that conversation and that learning is sort of probably the best place you can start.
And we can put these things in place. What does a healthy culture actually look like in practice? Because it's great having hearing loops and gyms. I mean, I really want to come and work on your site. You know, I mean, I don't really need a hearing aid loop, but I might. But like gyms and multi-faith rooms and stuff like that, we can put all those things in place. But what does that healthy culture look like on a daily basis?
I think it's something you're always working on. I don't think, you know, culture is one of the sort of main areas of the project that I'm working on at the moment. And I don't think there's success, obviously, in terms of things that, you know, there's ways of measuring things like staff satisfaction surveys and so on. But you should always really be trying to work on it. I don't think there's ever an end goal. But I suppose it is that more psychological safe place to be. People being able to come into work and be who they are, be themselves, get their job done to the best of their ability, and go home at the end of the day. And I think it's health and safety has always been very big in construction. Going home from your day job is one of the most important things in construction. We still have, you know, accidents and fatalities, but, you know, health and safety is everybody's role. Adding well-being on the end of that is also very important. It's, you know, construction's still an industry with a high rate of male suicide. How do we ensure that people are able to come to work and psychologically safely say if there is an issue and know who to go to, know who to turn to? And I think that culture will always be worked on. I genuinely do love walking into my office. It's not a cliche. I'm not just saying it because they might be listening. Like it is that there's a buzz. There's people are working, people are, you know, in all sorts of different roles getting on with their job, but they know it's an open and safe space to be. And that will only keep improving, and hopefully that will be taken to the different compounds as the project moves on as well.
You spend most of your life in service, I think, and some of it you get paid all right for, and some of it you don't actually get paid hardly anything or anything for. But what's the cost of being in service to others, and how do you know when that price is too high?
I think it's a personal cost in the sense that it can be all consuming. I'm happy to admit and be vulnerable enough that the last year has not been easy. Stepping into a councillor role, stepping into a cabinet role, raising my profile in the community and being open to people's opinions and views and points is not always easy. And it can have a negative impact. I think having a strong support system helps me with that. But I think the point it gets too much is when the good outweighs the bad. I have more wins than I do losses on a day-to-day basis in terms of knowing what I'm delivering, the conversations I get to have, the people I get to meet. There is more win than loss. And I think the point that it gets too much is when that flips the other way, I suppose. And I'm finding it, you know, I'm not able to get myself over that bad day is when it will be too much for me. For the people around me, it's my time. I'm pulled in many different directions. I am a mum, and I'm a mum first, and my children come before anything else. But I'm fully aware that I give up time with them to do the roles I do every single day. Well,
thank you. I don't actually live in the Basildon borough, but I thank you for giving up your time to come here. The cost, obviously there is the time cost with your children, and you've got young children. That must feel hard sometimes, especially when you do get a loss. I mean, you do get loads of wins, but people focus on loss, right? That's like, you could have 100 wins and one loss, and the one loss is going to annoy you. Apart from the time, what what other tolls does that take on you? Like emotionally, how does that manifest for you? I know we're sort of getting into a bit of a vulnerability here, and I don't want anyone to be like picking on it or anything like that. But I am conscious that most people probably don't see you as a human being. They see you as their counsellor, and they see you in sound bites on Facebook videos or TikTok videos, and they think, oh, I hate her because X, or because someone else has done this thing in politics or council, then she must be the same. So how does that take a toll on you?
It does take there is a negative impact. There is a mental impact to that. I'm happy to admit that in the last year I have cried over, situations that have either been someone calling me a silly name. And I think you've either got to, knuckle down and sort of think that, it's the loudest voices in the room. And I think with social media being such a relevant thing, it is always the loudest voices in the room that you will hear and you will see. It's like a TripAdvisor review. You're not going to go on holiday and you're going to write a TripAdvisor review because you've had an okay time and it's just been fine. You're only going to write it unless you've had the best time or the worst time. And I think I just sort of see it like that. Someone's only going to say something whether they're really, really upset or they're really, really happy. The masses are normally just okay. And I think that's trying to remember that. You've just got the loudest voices in the room and they are behind a keyboard. No one said it to my face, ever. No one's ever come up to me in the street and said anything to my face. So yeah, but it does have a negative impact. It'd be silly to lie and say it doesn't, because I'm a human being at the end of the day. I am somebody's daughter. I am 2 young children's mother. I'm somebody's wife. So yeah, it'd be silly to say that, we don't feel the toll sometimes and we feel the pressure. But we are human beings. And I like to think that we as an administration, as a council, try and show that a little bit more. We've got young families. There have been meetings where there have been a child within the chambers because of childcare and because of arrangements falling apart. And it's a juggle. The juggle is real. We've done Facebook Lives. We try and get out into the community and meet people one-on-one and actually talk to residents, and hopefully they see that there's actually a human being at the end of that who's also impacted by the decisions we make, because we all live in the borough. So yeah, hopefully we can do more of that and prove that we aren't robots, that are all part of the same party and all think the same.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because you have different parties pulling in different directions, and you have different people pulling in different directions. And your family pulls in one direction, and all those things. But what do you do when the role of mother, leader, public servant, and all the other ones start pulling in different directions? How do you deal with that?
Have a cup of tea and a bath and ignore the world. No, I suppose it is. I have a certain amount of resilience, and I think it is that I'm probably terrible. If I've made a commitment to something, I do try and stick to that commitment. I've told somebody I'm going to do something, I will 9 times out of 10 be there, unless something has happened with my children, and they always come first. I have left meetings and walked out of meetings and things because my children need me, and I will not apologise for that. But yeah, I suppose it is then sort of trying to prioritise what's the most important. My children, and then obviously my day job. I get paid, that covers my bills, that puts food on my children's, on my children's table. So that is, priority. At points, I allocate time to being a counsellor. I make sure that I organise myself, and I'm not the most organised person. But I ensure that if I've committed to something or somebody, I deliver that and I turn up. But yeah, there's days it's overwhelming. There's days where I've overcommitted and I'm tired, or weeks that it all seems to boil over. And that's when the support system comes in, I think, with my husband or my parents or whoever else wants to chip in that week.
What do you, this is unplanned. I'm just interested. What do you do to unwind? Because, it's not like you're going, I suppose there probably aren't that many nightclubs out in Basildon anymore, but it's not it's not the done thing, is it? Councillor goes to nightclub in local town or whatever. But for you, I mean, apart from a cup of tea and a bath, what is it that you enjoy doing to unwind?
It is really sad. I think I said to somebody the other day that politics has become my hobby, which, everyone has a hobby or a passion or something, and I suppose that has become it. But I do unwind. I think it is that taking that time, that family time. I've actually got a couple of days off this week, spend a bit of time with my kids, booking a holiday, having that to look forward to. I also like to watch really crap TV sometimes. I'm not going to lie. I think it's that switch off. And I think it's probably a bit of a it's not a stereotype. As a woman, I feel like I've got 1,000,001 things in my head at any one time. Yes, I have these 2 roles in leadership, and I am a mother and I'm a wife, and I'm always thinking about the next thing that needs to be done. School admin is a full-time job. Knowing what uniform she needs to be wearing and what she needs to take in on a daily basis is all somewhere within my head. So to actually switch off, mind-numbing, boring reality TV, which I don't have to think about, with a cup of tea, or a murder documentary. I'm not going to lie. I love a murder series or documentary. But yeah, I probably sound really boring, but spending time at home. I think, the last couple of weekends I've not done that much, and we had a barbecue the other week and just chilled out at home, and I actually spent time in my house with my children and my husband. It's, cliche boring things, but my clubbing days are well and truly over. I don't think I'd survive, to be honest. I think I'd get to like 11 o'clock and want to go home.
Well, we started day raves now.
Oh, okay.
So am I one of my many other jobs, I DJ, and me and my friend run a thing called, I won't actually say what it is because they're not paid for the privilege, but it's a fitness event, but it's a mixture between fitness and music. Yeah. And it starts in the morning and it goes through all day, so you don't even have to be up late.
There you go.
So yeah, maybe you can come.
Maybe that would help me on. I was in the gym for quite a while. I would say the counsellor role took over any of my gym time, to be fair, but that does help, and I think exercise and moving, is really good for people's mental health. I rarely sit down, so I don't know if I need to go to the gym. But yeah, there's all sorts of things I do. I think I'm a normal human being. I like laying on the sofa sometimes and not doing anything and avoiding the pile of washing that needs to be put away and the washing up in the sink. I am human. But yeah, I chose to have children, and they're probably my chill out time at times.
No, for sure. All of that, people might watch that and think, oh, that's really cliche, but you sound exactly, if my wife was sat there and I was asking her the same question, she would say exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And if your husband was sat where I am sat, he'd be thinking exactly the same thing, that behind every strong, powerful woman is a man standing wondering how they do it all and what they did wrong.
Yeah, no, I definitely won't be bad. My husband has had to step up the past year massively, and I think the world has changed in that sense of that male-female roles in terms of the woman staying at home and the man going out to work. COVID has allowed for some of that flexibility. My husband's employer were great, and he does just as many school runs. He would definitely say more than me. So it's that whole we've picked up different roles and we pick up for each other. He is traveling this week, so I am solo, and I have I will deal with that. It's supporting each other when the time when that time pulls. I suppose another thing I'll probably do to chill out is drive to my parents, hand over my children and be cooked for, which is always lovely. And I think that's going home. It's always home, isn't it? No matter where your parents live and if they've moved, and it's always home. So I think that's probably my plan for this weekend, to be fair, is going home and expecting my dad to cook.
Yeah, I'm for that. I'm 100% for that. Coming back to sort of both roles really, but what does regeneration actually mean when you strip it down to people, streets, stories? Basildon.
Yeah. So Basildon's a new town. It was 76 years ago now built, and it has effectively been left since then. We are in a very marginal area in terms of politics, and as I explained when I was an officer, it changes every couple of years. We elect in thirds. It's very close. It's not a massive overall control at local council, so things can get stagnated. Things can be slow. Decisions made and then changed. But I think for me, regeneration is effectively bringing Basildon into 2025 and beyond, giving it the facelift that it needs, and giving it, what high streets and what towns and, villages and communities are nowadays. And it has changed in that 75 years. Nobody goes to the high street to shop in the same way they used to. Nobody has a local butchers and a local greengrocers the same way they used to. So it's about making sure that these spaces work for the people that live there. And that is different nowadays. And it's about making sure that the people that live there have access to the healthcare they need, the shops they need, the leisure they need, but then also proud of the community they live in. And I think anybody can admit that Basildon needs that. Basildon needs a little bit of injection of life and pride and community pride. And hopefully that's what we're delivering with the Regeneration. We're looking at the town centre and we're saying this model doesn't work anymore. There's too many empty shop units. Retailers don't want to be in high streets the same way they used to be. They want to be on retail spaces and retail centres out of towns. And that works for them. They know the model that works for them. So what can we do? What can we put in the high street that brings people here? And it's giving people spaces to live. It's giving them doctors' surgeries to go to. It's giving them, cafes, restaurants, different choices of cinema or, soft plays, which are my hell on earth, but, soft plays and different activities to go and do because people want to enjoy where they live. And you used to be able to live somewhere and not have to travel anywhere else to go and do something. But now people are travelling out of the borough to go and have a evening out with their friends. And we want to put that back on their doorstep effectively. So we have to diversify what we think high streets are now. But I think essentially, if you strip it back down, it is delivering what the community want and can be proud of, and talk up where they're from. I'm very bored of the Basel dump and all the silly comments that we get about Basildon. It is an amazing place to be, and we are hopefully putting it back on the map as a place that people can be proud of.
In case you didn't know, in construction, trust is everything. You trust your team to show up, you trust your tools to perform, and when the pressure's on, you trust your supplier to deliver. That's where Grayson Building Products come in. They've been doing this since 1921 and they've built more than just a business. They've built relationships, expertise, and a reputation that is earned, not claimed. With over 50,000 products in stock and a team of specialists who genuinely understand the craft, Grayson is there. Not just when you order, but when things get complex. It's more than just a price. It's partnership. It's peace of mind. If you want a supplier that moves like part of your team, visit grayson.gb.com and see what real service feels like. I'm really fortunate. I'm actually from Benfleet. Technically I'm actually from Shoebury. But I now live in Saffron Walden. And I was talking the other day about why the high street, why we have 15 hairdressers, as many charity shops, estate agents. I'm trying to think of the other ones that we've got. What else? That's it. Coffee shops. Why we have all of those, and we don't have any actual shops anymore. I think in there we've maybe got, what have we got? Like a Peacocks, maybe. Maybe. But not. We don't have many actual shops. And we were discussing why we think that is. And I guess it's similar for Basildon. The internet has killed the high street because it's cheap, it's convenient. You haven't got to go drive your car or walk or get the bus or the train or whatever it is to a place, do some shopping, come home. So what you then get is during the day, certainly for us, a bunch of, generally speaking, fairly elderly people going to the hairdressers or the coffee shop or the charity shops or whatever. And then in the afternoon, evening, a bunch of younger people generally doing what young people do. And most of the time that looks like causing trouble, what they perceive to be just having a bit of fun. And I think we're all there at some point. But that, for me, that's a real frustration. And no one's really regenerating Saffron Walden. I don't think that's ever going to happen. It's like the 12th century town. It's not like, I don't think anyone's building there's a lot of building going on, but not in the centre. But, for Basildon, I've been to Basildon my whole life, and it hasn't changed very much. Probably, I think we were talking before, about 50 years or so, 60 years was, the last time it really changed. And giving people things to do in the town is arguably the most important thing, because the internet's not going away. People will still be buying online and getting it shipped to their address. The Regeneration, I'm really excited about like the live venue, whatever it's going to look like. And like, is there a master plan for that? Because it creates a lot of, what's the word? Like, I'm going to use the word kerfuffle. It creates a big kerfuffle in and around the town. There's lots of empty units at the moment. There's lots of empty, it feels a bit dead. Mm-hmm. But I guess something sort of, it's a bit like a phoenix from the ashes. It's sort of, the phoenix has to sort of burn before it can come back again.
Yeah, we have changed the way we live. People don't, I'm guilty of it. I do my food shopping. I don't have time to go walk around a supermarket. That's beyond me now. But yeah, we've changed the way we live. We all lead busy lives. Everyone works. Everybody's got other demands on them. So online shopping has taken over, and retail units cannot keep up in the same way they used to. And yes, the town centre is full of empty shop units. There's pretty much a plan for every single one of them. And there is an overall Basildon Town Centre master plan, and there is a master plan for the Westgate Retail Shopping Centre. It's at consultation. It's all online. People can put their views and opinions across, and we are genuinely listening to those views and opinions and responding to them and changing our plans in the background all the time. And these things don't happen overnight. There's teams of people that spend hours and hours redesigning, coming up with new ideas and trying to respond to those. And then it's that whole town centre master plan holistic view. How are people going to use and travel around our town centre? What are the destinations? We've got the View Cinema now, and the eateries and the pub about to open in September. That's nighttime economy. That's that end of the town. What do we want at the other end? What do you need if you're going to build an arena? What else do you need? You need a hotel. What else can we put in that space? How can we make the best use of the space we have? People don't want us expanding onto Greenbelt. People don't, we can't grow anymore as a borough. There's only a, definite boundary. So what do we do with the space we've got and the empty unused space? And it becomes that mix of retail, residential. You're having your retail at the bottom, you're having residential above, you're maybe having a gym in there, you maybe having a community space in there. It's how you use that space wisely, I suppose. But yeah, I like the description of Basildon rising, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, because it is. It's, there is hope. There are people knocking on our door and asking to speak to us. They're looking at Basildon. They want to invest. They see potential. They see the close links to London. It's right on the C2C line. Across the borough, there are 2 train lines, which is confusing. But you've got the Greater Anglia line in the north of the borough, which is straight into London, and the same for the south of the borough. So you've got that potential for people to travel to and from with, not awful transport links. There's definitely improvement to be made, as with anything in terms of infrastructure. But I suppose, there is an overall plan constantly in the works, and we do genuinely want people to get involved in that. Alongside that, we at Basildon are trying to pass the first local plan. I think the last time there was a local plan passed at Basildon Council, I was 6 years old. We don't have a local plan at the moment that tells developers where we want houses built, that tells employers where we want employment space. So it becomes a bit of a free-for-all, because we have nothing to back ourselves up to say that's not what we want and that's not what we've got agreed. So we are going through that process at the moment of obviously trying to hopefully pass a local plan which gives the council and the residents that protection and understanding of where housing will be built over the next 20 odd years, where employment space is, and where's the right space for employment space. What are employers looking for? Do they want industrial space? Do they want retail units? It's those conversations that we're constantly having. We are actually working on putting that plan all together so everyone knows what is happening, because we haven't had that for a long time, unfortunately.
No, and I mean, it must be one of the only boroughs with 2 train links into London. It's got to be, hasn't it?
I don't.
No. Well, Southend is got 2 as well, and it's sort of they come all the way parallel, don't they? But there aren't. What is it from Basildon? It must be like 45 minutes.
I think 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's not long
it's
at all,
nothing.
is it?
It's nothing.
And you only have to walk around London and see what has been done in and around. So somewhere like Vauxhall or Battersea or Shoreditch, and obviously they're very different places to Basildon, but you only have to look at them and think, do you know what? Actually, this is quite a nice place to live. And historically, Battersea has not been a nice place to live. Shoreditch, not really a nice place to live. Even Vauxhall, not the best place to live, but a lot, especially like somewhere like Battersea, a long regeneration, and now it's like one of the most up and coming places to be in London. Like it's like the cool place to be, and I'm hoping that, I'm hoping for your benefit and for the benefit of the people of the borough, that Basildon becomes the place that people want to be. You put nice houses in a place which is bustling, and people are going to want to live there.
Yeah.
And what that does for the other people in the rest of the borough is lift the profile of what, as you say, has not necessarily got the best ring to it at the moment.
Yeah, it is about I forget, it's that community pride, it's delivering that, but it's also making Basildon, somewhere where people are proud of being from and want to go and, spend their money and be. And all of these plans and all of this stuff we're doing is all underpinned by what we call the Basildon First Charter. And effectively, that is a agreement between us and developers and investors that are coming into this borough, that they are building something locally, they're going to use local businesses, they're going to train local people, and it gives back to that whole economy. So Basildon are effectively building Basildon. You're getting young people involved, and you are doing it. Like, you are putting young people into a job that they get to build, literally lay the bricks of the houses that their friends and family and so on will live in, and the buildings they'll go and use. And that creates so much more pride, but it also ensures that local businesses are surviving. It gives them a job for life. If we're looking at the amount of houses we need to build in the next 20 years, the amount of regeneration we're looking to do, and you can see it now, the buildings are being demolished, they are coming down, and they will start rising again. That is a job for life for somebody. You're talking about 20 years worth of work, 20 plus years worth of work right here on your doorstep. So it's about creating that, that opportunity for businesses. Yes, they're big investors, they're big developers. You're going to make profit out of this. So whilst you're here, you're going to use our businesses, and you're going to train our local people. And that, and with the homes, they're going to market them locally as well. So all of the developments that are coming forward now have signed that Basildon First Charter, and they will be marketing those homes only locally for the first X amount of time. We've strengthened that recently to the first 12 months. The previous iteration was 3 months. We know we can strengthen that, and we have. And we have great conversations with the developers, because they know that by marketing locally, there's demand for it. We've got 10,000 24 to 35-year-olds still living at home with mum and dad in just Basildon. They want an opportunity to go and get on the career, onto the property ladder, and they don't want to move out of, they want to be with their mum and dad. They want, or with their family, or with their friends, or in the place they grew up. I would love to live 20 minutes away from my parents still. Like, when you choose to have your own family, that becomes very important. So if we want that to keep happening, we have to ensure that those people can get homes locally first.
I love that idea. Maybe there's some play around, like almost like and again, I'm sort of chucking this out, and you're going to shut it down, which is cool, which is fine. I get it. But like, if you have actually worked on the development, then maybe you get some peripheral treatment of, say you're the bricklayer who built the actual houses, maybe, and you're from Basildon and you are living at home with mum and dad. Like, maybe there's some sort of criteria where you get some sort of discount on the house because you actually built it. Yeah. And that's not I don't think that's an unfair idea. There are lots of loopholes in it I can already think of, but there's all sorts of legalities and laws and things, and red tape and paper. I think that the whole just marketing first, to local people is a step in the right direction. We recently agreed at Cabinet that we're going to deliver an event to first-time buyers and really try and demystify all of this, all these ideas around what affordable homes are and all the different avenues you can go down, because people hear affordable homes, they see the price and they still think that's unaffordable. It's understanding the options and actually knowing what you can do. So we're going to do an event, I think it's planned in September, don't quote me, but where we bring mortgage brokers, key people who can offer that advice to first-time buyers
to actually have that conversation and find out what the best option for them is. There's all sorts of different options. Affordable housing isn't just 30% off the price. There's all sorts of different options to get into shared ownership or, lower deposits and so on. It's just got to be what works for them. So if we can help demystify that and give people the opportunity to ask those questions, then hopefully that's also another step in the right direction. But yeah, I think there's we do offer schemes for key workers, people who are, have left the armed forces and veterans and so on. So there are different things we can do to help support people. Key workers is a big one for us. So if, you're sort of working in the NHS and so on, we have got schemes that can help. But yeah, being able to give a brookie a free house would be great.
Yeah. I'm not suggesting a free house. They earn enough money as it is, to be fair. But yeah, even just giving them the opportunity, or giving people the opportunity who live locally to buy the house before anyone else can buy the house, because that's happened a lot. I know that's happened a lot in Shoreditch and Battersea and Vauxhall. Is that rich people from other places have just bought it as an investment and never actually lived there.
Yeah. We can't do anything about somebody choosing, a private landlord or private owner choosing to sell their property to anybody they want. And obviously we do have an issue it happens across the country where other councils will buy property in other areas because it's cheaper, the housing rate is cheaper, and they'll move people into it. Does happen. It happens across the country. If you own your building, it's got nothing to do with us as a council who you sell that to. But obviously where we can step in and where we are able to sort of, keep it for Basildon residents and deliver something actually for our community, we have done. We've recently passed and bought Southgate House. And there was a lot of talk about that going to a London borough and turning that into residential. We don't want that, not because we don't want anyone moving here. It's more just we know that can be a better use. We know there's a use for people locally for that, rather than an influx of more people coming into the town centre that we need to support, that put a strain on our infrastructure. We have enough of that here. So it's about creating the right spaces. And there is always space for people to move in. We want people to want to come to Basildon and spend their money here, but it has to be done in the right way. So we have protected, situations like that a couple of times.
I love how passionate you are about Basildon, about working. Not even, I was going to say working people. I mean, you are passionate about working people, but you're just generally passionate about people, about better living standards, about just being a genuinely nice human. And that, I don't get paid to say that. I don't get paid. So that'd be nice either way. But people won't necessarily see that of you on the sound bites, and without a shadow of a doubt, and I'm the same. I'm really fortunate. I'm fortunate that I own my own house. Well, the bank own most of my house, but you know how that works. I have a mortgage to pay that I'm really fortunate for, and blessed, and that is something you're looking to do for the people of Basildon, or provide places to live. I was actually listening to something and they were saying, buying a house isn't necessarily the best investment right now. So actually having places to rent is also a good thing to have, because, you could put your money in the stock market for 50 years and earn more money than your house would ever earn you. And, people think, renting is just burning money. Well, everyone's got to live somewhere. Yeah. So it's not just burning money, is it? I'm in a fortunate position where I will own a house at the end if I keep paying my mortgage, but my house won't have grown that much in value over the next 30 years. It just can't. There has to be a ceiling. Yeah. There has to be a ceiling somewhere. But yeah, I'm excited for the regeneration of Basildon. I really am. And I'm excited that people are going to be able to live and work in Basildon. People of Basildon building Basildon. Like, that's powerful. I've talked about that with Lee Marley and with Steve Murphy and various other, and there are other podcasts that are talking about it. There's another one called Hard Hat Chat, who they talk a lot about, they live in like the Rayleigh Eastwood area. So it's a different borough, but they talk about, they're in construction too, and they talk about building and building towns and things like that. And it's really interesting that people, it's something a lot of people are talking about, not just people in council and parliament and all that stuff, which is
it's
nice.
important, and I think Basildon is a massive economy, and I think people don't feel it. The average Joe on the street doesn't feel that. So I think being able to make them feel that and see that and being transparent with that, and the amount of investment that people are looking to put into this borough, and then you being involved in that, and hopefully everyone being involved in that and seeing it, come to fruition. Hopefully put Basildon back on the map as a place to be proud of and a place to people want to come to visit and be. But it takes work and it takes time and it takes dedication. It takes a lot of belief and faith as well that it's gonna actually happen. Because there are roadblocks and things do change, and but I think one of the most exciting things we've seen in the last few months is that building coming down and knowing that that's actually happening now, because it's been spoken about for a long time, and there's a lot of buildings that have sat there unused for a long time. So starting to see them either coming down or being repurposed is what we need in the town centre. And across the whole borough, really. It's not just Basildon Town Centre.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a Langdon Park councillor, seeing the Langdon Shopping Centre actually come to, actually being built and finally coming to fruition after lots of roadblocks and lots of change is really important for the residents of the ward that I stand for. So and it has been slow and it has been painful, but it's actually happening now, and people just need to keep that faith a little bit.
It's interesting because your borough is quite a diverse borough, really. From sort of north, like Billericay, to east Wickford to sort of south it's like the two sides of the A127, right?
Effectively we are divided by the A127. So you have Billericay and Wickford in the north, and then the Basildon Newtown and the surrounding areas in the south of the borough, and they are divided politically. They're divided, they're divided by a lot in terms of affluence and deprivation. They're divided. Access to transport is very different. People's life expectancy is different. So it's a very diverse borough. And I suppose delivering all across the whole borough is not easy. We have regeneration happening in 4 of our 5 towns right now. So it is not all about Basildon Town Centre. I think that is the centrepiece. It's a town centre. That's where the new town is focused on. But there is regeneration happening and projects happening in 4 of the 5 towns that are actually, delivering something meaningful now.
And there seems to be division between the north-south divide. I mean, that's not a secret. I'm fortunate that I have a job working for a bricklaying company that is building some parts of Basildon. That's sort of a complete aside from this podcast and our conversation. If you could say one thing if you could speak into that north-south divide in the best way that you can, what would you say to them?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think there's the element of people believe when we say Basildon, we only mean Basildon. We're Basildon Borough. You are part of a borough. We always talk about the whole borough. There is a feeling politically that switches dependent who's in administration in the council, where the money gets spent. But we genuinely care about the whole borough. We are from the whole borough as an administration, and we, are genuinely listening across the whole borough, and we know it's important and there's different needs in different spaces. And I think the understanding that we are looking to deliver to those needs, and it looks different in Wickford and Billericay. What they need in that area is different to what Basildon need. One thing that unites us all, I suppose, is that there is a need. There is a need for us to regenerate. There is a need for us to give people homes. That happens in Wickford, Billericay, Basildon, Pitsea and Langdon. Everybody needs a home. Everybody needs a high street. Everybody needs a shop they can go to, a post office, a bank, whatever it is they want. They all need it in the same way. So it's that whole, it just looks different. And I think, we're trying to deliver that for everybody, but it's not one size fits all. So I suppose, it's probably I can say we know you're all in need of something, but what we're doing in Basildon does impact Wickford and does impact Billericay. And then what we're doing in Wickford does impact the other areas as well. So I suppose it's that whole, there's more that unites us. We're all in the same boat. There could be some cliche soundbite there. But I think it is that we are actually one whole borough. And and you have actually got people standing up and fighting for your area in that chambers on a weekly, monthly, whatever basis, and we are listening. One of the things we introduced as an administration last year was called the area committees, and that is that whole localised funding. So we talk about local government and the tiers of local government, and we've got town councils, parish councils, business improvement districts. There's all sorts of things going on across the whole borough that are trying to improve the borough. But the late councillor David Harrison had an idea around area committees and kind of having that localised funding. And that gives each area, so Leindon, Pitsea, Basildon, Billericay, Wickford, a pot of money, effectively, to spend on community-focused projects and things that are going to, improve the community in however they want. So we have no say over what Pitsea choose to spend that money on. I think, they chose to deliver some bins in a local park that were shaped like animals to encourage children to throw away rubbish, because that was an issue in that area. In Leindon, we have actually, which is actually really cool, bought 2 robots through for the Lennox Cancer Trust for young children living with cancer who can't attend school or they're not able to attend that day or something, so they can still dial in from home and attend school and take part in learning. Which is amazing.
So the robots in school?
The robots in school, and they've got a screen at home.
No
I'm yet to go and see it,
That's
actually.
so cool.
I really want to go and see it. But, as locals, we also funded I think it's a guides trip, for them to go and do a trip. We've given them some funding towards that. So community groups are able to approach the area committee and say, we're thinking of doing this. And if we can make it work, we do, effectively. And we all have that pot of money. So we are, we know there's different needs. Wickford I think, they've looked at areas like their parks and needing more benches and needing street improvements and cleanups, and that's fine. Spend it on that, because that's what you need. And I suppose it's got your councillors that you elected in your local area.
And you don't get that everywhere. We don't have that to anywhere near that extent in Saffron Walden. Yeah. And Saffron Walden is a very affluent place to be. Arguably more affluent than somewhere like Billericay. Yeah. And I don't think people realise what they don't have or they do have until they move. Yeah. So coming from Benfleet, I used to live in Billericay. That's got close. And then moving to Saffron Walden from sort of the Benfleet area, every council does things differently. Yeah. And you can only go, and the reason for that is because of the people who live there and the demographic of the whole borough, not just the 3 streets that take all of the sort of publicity. Yeah,
and it's not all of the funding of the council, but it is those community funds. And, you've probably seen us delivering the Crunch, which is this, in each local area, we'll get the dustbin lorries out for people to come and, remove their bulky waste items or excess rubbish, so they don't have to get an appointment at the tip, which is a nightmare at the moment, booking a slot at the tip. And we lead busy lives. How do you know on this weekend you're going to be free to go to the tip that day? And you've got to book it weeks in advance. So, we're delivering that, and that's to try and tackle fly tipping. It's to tackle the backlog of waste we had from the disastrous bin service we had before and things like that. It's, but it is also a coming together of communities. I've never thought I'd have so much fun helping people remove rubbish from the backs of their cars and throw it in a bin lorry. But it is, and I've seen people help their elderly neighbour to get that sofa that's been outside their house and they don't want to pay for the bulky collection, because it's a lot of money for them. And it really does. It sounds really mad that it brings people together, but it really does, and it shows the best of our communities in some ways, and obviously helps, our recycling rates and our waste, and you do see less fly tipping, and people are able to have a good clear out before summer. And I've got 2 kids. I've got a lot of stuff that I could probably clear out. Oh yes. So it's it's that kind of thing, and we've delivered 7 since we were back in administration, and we've still got a few more booked in up until March next year. And that's something that was wanted. That was something we was asked for when we did a massive consultation on the bins. That was something that people wanted. So the area committees deliver that for their locations if that's what they want. We're localising neighbourhood teams to have more targeted things like pruning and pride teams and street cleansing, because rather than it being a borough-wide rota that we believe that bin gets full every 2 weeks, so we'll go empty it, actually the localised neighbourhood teams will know the hotspot areas and get to know their areas very well. It also means we as councillors, if we get casework or we get, complaints of an overgrown tree or something like that, we've got an actual team of people that are working only in that area to go and sort that out. So we're trying to bring it all back local, effectively, but knowing that there's a wide picture above it.
No, that's really good. So hearing a counsellor actually talk about the things that they are actually doing, not just the things that we plan to do.
Yeah.
Because it's the little wins, right?
It's getting the basics right.
Yeah, it's the little wins that lead you to the bigger win, which is awesome. You want the big wins.
You expect your council to collect your bins, to clean your streets, to prune the trees and the bushes. Like that's the thing. You pay your council tax. If you walk out your door and there's rubbish everywhere and trees falling down or bushes overgrown so you can't see around the corner, it does impact your day. If you're a human being, if we can get the basics right, then yes, I suppose then the trust is there for us to deliver the bigger things. And I think, we've spent the last year just trying to get the basics right.
Yeah. Start with the basics, I reckon.
Start with the basics, yeah.
If your kids asked you, Mum, why do you do all this? What would you want them to hear in your answer?
I think I'd want them to hear that I am somewhere doing it for them. Deep down, beyond it all, it is for them. I'm very fortunate. I have amazing parents. They've always supported me through everything. And I think it is that evidence of that. I'm doing everything I'm doing now because I've always been supported to do anything I want to do. So I think it is the same for them. I've got a daughter. I don't want her to ever think that because she is a young lady, she can't do anything. So I suppose it is that because I can is kind of the answer to a degree, because I was given an opportunity to, because I was fortunate to be elected to be a counsellor, and I feel that I've now got a purpose to deliver that. But to boil it all down, it is for them. It's, I want them to be proud of me. I want them to go and do what they want to do, grab every opportunity they're given, and give it their best shot effectively. And that's all I'm doing, really. If it all boils down to it, I have taken every opportunity and I'm giving it all my best shot. Still learning.
What drives you to keep going, especially on the hard days?
It's the wins. It's the seeing. It's like going to the crunch. So I stood in the pouring down rain on Saturday morning with my daughter. My daughter wanted to come with me, which actually really makes me quite proud that she wants to come and do this. She's delivered leaflets for me. She's part of this process as well. Stood in the pouring rain as someone's come and they're clearing out their house with their children as well, and said thank you. And that seems such a small thing. But it is those wins at the end of the day. It's the basics, and that's the only thing that can keep you going. Because there's bad days. But having a win at the end of it, or looking at the bigger picture, and probably my daughter now being proud and wanting to get involved, going into school and telling her teacher that I'm a counsellor. So bless her, which is quite sweet, but doesn't always work in my favour.
Yeah, you get in the homework book at the end. By the way, if you could just make sure you clean streets X, Y, and Z. You're like, not sure this is a...
I've received casework on the school gates.
Oh, wow.
So no. But there's probably all sorts of answers I could give to that. I'm a determined individual, so I'll keep going as long as I can. Until I fall into a vat of coffee somewhere.
I can think of worse ways to go. Yeah. When it's all said and done, what will have made it all worth it?
Hopefully, with everything we're doing now and everything that sits in my portfolio, it will all make it worth it when there are local people proud of where they live, have been part of what they've built, and everybody... more people are getting that opportunity. We're stagnant at the moment. You're talking about places to rent, there's none. You're talking about council homes, there is none. None have been built. We're stuck and we're stagnant. And I think if we're moving and things are getting better, then that's job done. Things are, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in the time that I'm an elected councillor for Basildon Council. It's a long-term piece of work. But I think that improvement, seeing things happening, knowing that there's going to be houses opening soon and there's going to be people coming off of our council house waiting list and moving into homes that we've acquired. There's people who are in temporary accommodation who are actually back in the borough and getting the right support they need. Like, things are moving and things are genuinely getting better. And that's all we can ask for.
Well, thank you. We have sort of a closing tradition of which I didn't brief you for, actually, which I'm really happy that I didn't brief
thanks.
you for. If you could have anyone sat in that chair having a conversation with me, who would you pick? And it could be anyone. It could literally be anyone. But if it's someone that is in your little black book of people, then I might just reach out to them through you, possibly.
Oh, wow. That's a really good question, to be honest. It could be anybody from who I work with to who I do the counsel with. I think any of us as counsellors, to show that we are human beings and, you know, prove that we have vulnerabilities, we have jobs, we have families. I don't know if I could convince the leader of the council to come and have a chat with you. But yeah, someone like him who's, you know, sat and spent the last 15 years trying to do exactly what I'm sitting here saying we're doing. And the knockbacks and the joy and the bad times that comes with that would be someone that I think would be able to tell you the story a lot better than I can.
Fair. So I'm guessing that's Gavin. You're pointing the finger at Gavin.
Pointing the finger at Gavin. I'll hand the gauntlet over to him.
Gavin, we are coming for you.
But he can tell that story, and I think proving that we're human beings at the end of it as well. We have young families. We genuinely want what we're talking about. We're not talking for the sake of talking.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on and taking the time out of your day. It's been a different conversation. We never talk politics on here. almost
We've done well to not go too deep into it.
Well, yeah. As I said, I don't want to make anyone look silly or go too political about it. So thank you so much for giving up your time and
thank you for having me.
Being super honest with who you are.
Thank you.
Bless you.